back to yet another Jeff Walker Books discussion. Today, I'm going to talk about what's been going on in my Wattpad circle, and the Inkitt circle, too. I've just recently started writing some short books on these sites, and I want to go into where I'm currently on. So, if you're not aware, I'm also on the Wattpad and Inkitt sites. I have a few novels in the works there as well. Currently, I have my latest book, Your Service is Required, is out on Audible today, actually. This is December 31st. Well, not December 31st yet. It's December 30th. And it's 2021 right now. But soon we'll be in the new year 2022. So consider this my New Year podcast. And so, yeah, I'm back to the Wattpad and Inkitt sites. So I have several stories going on here. Currently, I've got, I think a handful going on. The one I'm really focused on is one called The Jungle Planet. If you look it up for my name on there, you can see the progression of the story. I think I'm up to 5 chapters now. I just finished putting on the latest chapter. It's a slow-going process. I'm trying to get into characters. I'm trying to get into the main plot. I was making this a short story, but I think I'll expand it as a novel. Or at least try to. It could be a novella by the time I'm done with it. I seem to gear towards novellas more than I do novels. Your Service is Required was my first major novel. It was the first full novel I've ever produced. Long Lost War was a novella, which was easy to write, but it was short, and everybody kept saying how short it was. But, I find them quick, easy to get out, and, they're just easier. So, in The Jungle Planet, it's about this group of explorers heading towards a planet that is rich in oxygen. The only downside is that it's a jungle planet. It is literally just a jungle world. They set down upon this place, and it's a bit of a chaotic atmosphere to get into. But I mean, once they filter out a lot of the plant life's spawn, they've got like particles and like the seedlings like floating around. But once they filter that out, it's a rich source of oxygen that they can process and send back to Earth. In this future, Earth really requires them to get more oxygen, and it's become a big industry. So the group heads to this planet far from Earth, and they're required to harvest the oxygen supply. This scientist that's on it, this Caitlin, she's the head of trying to get verification of how the plant life and everything is trying to produce oxygen. And she'll soon run into problems, and so will the rest of the crew, as the book will, enter an area they were not prepared for. So I thought it would be a great idea to do a spin on that, and it's shaping very nicely. I like how it's going, and will I get it done? I don't know. I'm doing these books in bits and pieces while I'm trying to focus on my other novels. I'm doing a full novel of Professor Dark and Miss Shadow, which is slow. And I've updated that before, that I've been slowly going on that one. And it's hard because as a writer, you're always coming up with new ideas. So, if you look for me there, I have a ton of those. I also have another one that deals with China being on the moon. Earth is pretty much dead, and China pretty much set themselves a new place on the moon. And it's all about the scientists that created this pandemic virus that kind of got out of control. Hey, I would talk about art imitating life, right? But this one was so severe that everybody left the planet, and it's not known whether or not any other country survived. The scientist is trapped in this new environment on the moon with his own people that are survived. But he's still in search of his daughter and wife who fled to Canada, and he's not sure if they had survived or got onto a transport. So he's severely depressed, but he's also trying to maintain a hope that they had gotten off. And he'll run into a friend that will help him, and then they'll discover things along the way that maybe some survivors did get off, and it'll all be wrapped around that. And that's on there. Lunar China Red, it's called. Another one I was in development for is called Space Rockers, Dangerous Prospect. And these guys are the ones going out and working on like asteroids and meteors, and they're just doing their thing out there, and they make a discovery out there as well. So that's another one. And I'm trying to broaden my science fiction approach at some of these things. I mean, some of them I feel like they're getting a little too intense, and maybe I'll shift focus on a few of them. I started writing one as perspective of an old caveman as he's wandering about with his clan, and they leave him behind. I'm trying that kind of story as well, that he's it's about his adventure of being out by himself, this old, frail man, and then the book is titled Old, which I get that when I started writing it, I didn't know there was going to be a movie called that as well, which that Shyamalan guy was doing, and I almost cursed the man for taking that, but then I'm like, I'm sure there's been a few other books that just been titled Old, so I think I'll have to tweak the title in order to, if I ever wanted to publish it. But for the most part, Wattpad and Inkitt have been good to launch my ideas, to test the waters, if you will. But in the same respect, it's not getting me anywhere. Nobody's responding. I'm getting very little feedback. And I can understand why, because those mediums are really geared around people that are into the fan fiction or more of a, I want to say fantasy type base of drama, and for young readers. So I may have to rethink about being on those sites, because I'm just not getting enough interest, to be honest. And it's hard because it's almost as bad as self-publishing, because you're pushing stuff out there and you either get readers or you don't. And I try to lead everybody to the site, but I don't get very many responses from the site. So then I started a Substack account, which it was like a newsletter, really, and I don't mind doing that. I mean, I've got a blog, I've got stuff on there. I'm trying every which I can to do this stuff, but it's you're in a mountainous, you're in deep space, to be honest with you. You're a single voice in deep space, hoping a transport will come by and hear you. And that's how you feel. You feel like you're out there in the middle of nowhere, just putting your voice out there and seeing if anybody will hear you. Some people just have this natural talent for doing it. I don't know how they do it. To be honest with you, I'm not that savvy on how to really self-publicate myself. I don't understand how they're doing it. Most of the time I think they're just paying money to do it. I mean, I didn't want to, but I have done it a few times for some reviews, and I'm not proud of myself for doing it because I don't feel like it's necessary to spend that money that you work so hard for, and then you're just like, well, all right, I'll try, but I mean it's hard because you don't know what area you're getting into, and I know there's groups out there that will help you and try to, I don't know, spin it towards these people that I guess promote it for you. But I just don't understand how you can pay somebody to do promotion for you. I know they're probably better at it. Probably that's what they do. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's called an agent. So would you rather do it like that, or would you rather get an agent to help you? And the only problem with the agencies is they won't want you to come to them. They will come to you. So if your book does well, they will come to you. And that's how it goes. I noticed that's how Dennis E. Taylor, when he was writing his books, he got nobody for the first few bits. And then his one book, of the Bobaverse, it started getting noticed. And then an agent came to him and helped him to shape that book into something better. So, I mean, that works for some people on some level. I mean, he did great on the audio books, and I can't imagine enough. Like, he did such a great job on getting the right person to do the voicing of that book, and it worked out fine for him. Now, for the others, it's like hit and miss for a lot of us out here. But for Inkitt and Wattpad, I've had some good reviews, and then I've got some that are just giving me stuff but not feeding back. So it becomes frustrating because you don't know if this is working or not. And I kind of wish it wasn't like this, but it is. I mean, I'm still putting that stuff on there just to have it out in the internet, and that it's there if anybody wants to go and read it as I keep honing and perfecting it. But those of you that read it on there, it could be changing some of it. I may go back and rewrite chapters, and I just want you to keep a constant vigilance on it if you do go and look at it. I changed the cover on the Jungle Planet, and it looks a little bit more vibrant, I think. Covers are kind of hard for me, but I do my best with what I've got. I used to be a graphic designer or a graphic artist, and the word is used to be because I don't practice it much in my life anymore. I mean, that was like 25 years ago or 30 years ago now. But I still try to keep my hand into it, and I try to do my own covers. And I know most people say don't do your own covers, and it's like, well, it's hit and miss with me sometimes. I'm learning as I go. It's every writer's got their little way of doing things, and I will never change. When it comes to writing, I visualize my writing. In my brain, I've already constructed the story. It's there. I flesh it out the way I envisioned it, and then I go back and I refill some pages. And that's just how I do it. I get basically the premise out, and then I return to it, and then I kind of add in what I think could be making it better, or just trying to expand on the idea. It's just how I work. It's how my brain works. It's how I write. Some people like to have structure and build up character like little index cards. And then they try to restructure the story. They get an outline. I've done outlines. Sometimes if I'm too overwhelmed, I will outline the story, or at least write down the premise and, come back to it. But for the most part, I've already had the idea, so I know how the characters are. I know what the characters will say. I get in the mindset of these characters that I develop, more so than anything. Professor Dark and Miss Shadow, I know them like the back of my hand. I know what they would say in a situation. I know what he would do in a situation. That character alone, I have more insight to than any other. So I would know him better than anyone. I used to write fan fiction myself, and I don't see the problem with that. I understand that a lot of writers or a lot of people that created the characters don't like people writing about them, and I understand, because some of the fan fiction out there is so overly sexual, or they try to combine characters together that shouldn't be combined together, and I can understand the frustration in some writers that they don't like that idea, and I get that. There's a lot of gay and lesbian, LGBTQ kind of stuff out there about surrounding normal characters and twisting them so that they're more like them. And I understand that's just only because there's not enough out there for them to identify with. So they take the regular characters and they try to, change it to like something that they're more suited for. And hey, if that's your thing for fan fiction, have at it. Just don't put it into the regular mainstream of it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any mainstream gay or lesbian character. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if somebody created a character that is a certain way, and that character should remain who they are, because that's who the writer created them as. So I don't mind if you do it in fan fiction, of course. That I don't see any problem with that. That's fan fiction. You're not getting paid to steal somebody else's character and get money off of that. No. If you want to make money on a character that you want to build on that sort of thing, that's when you start creating something on your own. And that to me is probably the biggest thing. Because I used to write fan fiction. I get it. I wanted to write Batman stories galore and get paid for it. But then I realized it's not my character to make money on. So really, this would be just me telling a story of my own. And I have had a few good characters in fan fiction. Batman Beyond. I've done some fan fiction for that, and people loved it. I've had more responses about that because I knew the characters inside and out, and I really just fleshed out the fan fiction on that. But I knew I would never make money on it. To me, that was just an exercise in writing. To know that if I did it, would somebody read my material if I moved on to something else, creating my own original character. And that built up enough confidence for me, because when I started getting the feedback of amazing feedback about it, I said, yeah, I could do it. I could make my own characters. I could start. It built confidence, and I slowly moved away from that. I mean, from time to time I go back. I still do Doctor Who stories occasionally. And I shouldn't, because I should be focusing on. But sometimes the characters are so good, you gotta go back, and I gotta flesh it out, because I've got ideas that I want to do and put down. And sometimes it's just good to get out of your head for those characters and then move on to something new. So that's where I'm at. So fanfiction, it should be that. If you want to make original characters to make money for yourself, do that. I'm not against the community of any way. I think it's fine. I've added stuff in there, my own books that, and I tried to understand from them. And it's not appropriation. It's not meant to be appropriation. It's just observing the world and how it is. But what I don't get is too judgy on people. I don't try to say that I understand totally, or that I'm I'm just trying to fill in the gaps and try to understand. And that's books were meant for people to understand. Writing was meant for writers to get into the heads of individuals and try to see it from their point of view. What gets me all up in arms is when people try to change a character to suit their own needs, knowing full well that it's not intended to be done that way. I mean, like I said, if Batman wasn't gay, or Superman wasn't gay, and yet they try to create a new character based on him and steal it and put it in, like, I understand you want to create an alternate reality. Yay, okay, that's fine. Alternate reality Superman, alternate reality. But when you're doing the main characters in a main book, you don't try to change the melody while it's still doing pretty good. It gets a bit conflictive for me because I don't like when people try to change a character because they think it should be different. No, the character's worked for so long. Why change it? The character, you just have to change the surroundings. You don't have to change the character. It's the surroundings and the others around them that make his universe the way it is. It's hard to say, and it's hard for me to articulate because I don't do it very well. To be honest, I don't articulate that well when it comes to my thoughts. My thoughts tend to get a little too fast sometimes before my mouth can even say it. So, in the long run, I shouldn't be saying anything, to be honest with you, and most people would probably go, yep, you shouldn't. But I when I get strongly motivated by certain things, I tend to babble a lot. Like right now, I've moved on from my Inkitt stories and Wattpad stories to this little rant. But that's how I am. And I'm not scripted. I know some people like to have flesh out stuff that they want to focus on. I don't do that. I don't have the mythology for that kind of thing. Mainly because I'm not used to doing this. I don't speak for a living. My wife and kids think I should be doing voice acting because off this and everything, I tend to mimic voices a lot. And yeah. And this is really just a format to get to know me. I'm a writer. This is what I think sometimes. Mainly I'm doing it to like tell you about my books that are out, my writing that's out. And for you to go and read that and get a sense of what stories I'm writing about. That's this format. That's what I'm doing this for. That's why I'm here talking to all of you listening, or if you're listening, for that matter. I'm just a person, one of many in this world. Am I trying to seek attention? Of course. I want to get my stuff noticed. And I know I'm ranting half the time, and people probably don't like the ranting, but, it makes us who we are. I'd rather you know who I am, and get to know me, and get to know my writing, and, give me some feedback. All I want is to chat. All I want is to get to know you. I've talked to reviewers sometimes, and, and not the people that reviewed my books, but people that are on like Twitter and stuff like that, and just feed off each other about that sort of thing. And I know there's writers out there who lash out at reviewers that gave them a low score. I don't think that's right. I think that's a person's opinion of your book, and you can scream all you want at them. They're not going to change their point of view on that. Certainly bullying them is not the right thing to do. You just have to accept what that person has written, take it for what it is. If it's a good argument, well written, well thought out, then you could absorb that and learn from it. But I mean, if somebody just came up and gave you a glib response and 1 star, they don't deserve your attention, buddy. They're just there to like push your button. And I learned that the hard way too, because I used to get defensive about that. And then I realized why? It's just fueling something that I don't want to start. If they don't like me, they don't like me. What can I do? People have their opinions. People have their views of what your opinions are. I've stated stuff just out of hand, and people have taken it way too far, and it's just been like, well, that's your opinion of what you think I am. You're physically behind another screen that I cannot see you from, so we're not sitting here in front of each other talking. You can't judge a person how they're saying it when they're typing it, because they're typing it. It's in their head. They're thinking it. They're not saying it out loud. So, in a sense, I'm doing this right now and speaking to you of how I'm saying it. But again, could be taken out of context if I didn't have the right inflection of how I said it, kind of thing. And that's just how it goes. But that's criticism. That's how we do it. So back to what I was saying before. Inkitt, Wattpad. Go check me out. I have so many titles there. I have fan fiction there. If you'd rather read some fan fiction, Doctor Who. I have some Batman Beyond. I even have an incomplete Batman Beyond story that I put on there, mainly because I'm not going back to write it. I've done Batman Beyond. It was my my idea to start a Batman Beyond future series based on the first fan fiction book I did. But then I stopped it midway because I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. And besides, I was tired of writing other people's stuff and not getting any credit for it or money. So I stopped it, even though everybody was hell-bent on me for finishing it. And I was like, I can't. I love it. I do love the work I did. I've gone back to reread it myself, and it's not too bad. A lot of errors, but I mean, it still holds up as the plot and the characters. And while I do write occasionally from time to time some new stuff, I know for sure it won't make money or give me any more fanage. It's just I had to get these stories out of my head, because when I start hearing something and then I'm thinking, oh, I want to write an adventure based on this, and I just put it on there. And whether or not it gets traction, I don't care. It's out there. It's out of my mind. It's in the cyberspace, and it's there for anybody who wants to read it. And in the long run, writers and authors, we sit there and we try to push these books, try to make it as much as we want to be like money makers and stuff. But in the end, there's just so many titles out there. There's so many books being written. It's increasing every day. It's harder to get a voice in there. In the end, you just have to accept that your work's out there and someone will read it. Someone will read your stuff. And whether or not it catches on, that's just how it's going to go. But if you're expecting to become a writer and be rich, forget it. You'll never be rich as a writer. Even Stephen King, as much as he makes now, he still doesn't feel like he's got enough influence on anything other than story making. But yeah, I mean, if you're serious about writing, you got to do it for the love. You just can't do it for the money, because I've seen people out there put up books and then wonder why it doesn't sell. And then you read the book and you go, Well, I know why, because you're not a writer. Let's put it that way. And then there are some people that hand it off to ghostwriters. They come up with the idea and they give it to somebody else to write up with. Well, that's not being an author. That's you having an idea and then going, okay, you write the rest of it, and I'll take all the credit. That's not writing to me. Someone has to be an artist in the mind to know what it is to create a story out of nothing. And that's where I'm at. So I hope you go and look. And my Wattpad name, I think, is Jeff Walker 9 on there. And I hope you go and look at the Jungle Planet, Lunar Red. No, what's it? Lunar China Red, and Space Rockers. And that's all I can think of. So that was my rant for today. It turned into something else entirely, and I'm sorry. So there you go. This is what you get when you come to my podcast, I guess. I know I should focus more. I know I should be trying to target my thoughts. And maybe I'll do that next time. I keep saying that, but I will try to focus it next time. And possibly read a chapter or two, which I think my wife and everybody else has been trying to tell me to, you should read some pages of your book. I should, but it's hard for me to read, and it's just hard for me to read it off the page and make it exciting. Otherwise, I'm just going to drone on. And I've done that in another thing where I wrote out the prologue to Outer Red Part 3, and I think when I listened to myself, I was like, oh my god, it sounds like a robot reading it. Even the robots on here have more emotion. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll try to do that. And so in the end, it's another rant from me that turned into something else. Like I said, my new book, or my book, Your Service is Required, is out on Audible right now. So is The Massive Planet. Massive Planet's out as well. And I really wish that got more traction too. I made the mistake of not making it exclusive with Audible, The Massive Planet. It's out in... I tried it with a different company, and I don't know, it didn't do that well as I thought it would. So I may have to, the next book, when I do an Audible for that, I'll have to keep it on Audible. I wish I didn't have to. I wish I could do other ones, and that people would actually go and listen to them there, but they're not. And, maybe it's just building a fan base. And I think that's the problem. I've only done the first book for The Massive Planet, so I'll have to just keep focusing on getting that out. But in the meantime, thank you for stopping by. Thanks for listening to this, whatever it was, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for now.